afternoon. It's 8 o'clock in Banjul. This is QTV News coming to you live from our studios on Karaba Avenue. And I am Julden Jai. Thanks for joining us. Here are the main news headlines. The Social Protection Secretariat on Saturday engaged National Assembly members to promote their work and building of the Gambia's social registry. And the National Environment Agencies and partners commence Phase 2 of the Climate Change Coastal and Maritime Zone Management Project today along the Bakau coastline. 17 medical staff from 3 hospitals trained in basic Ponsati treatment held at the Farafenni General Hospital in the North Bank region. And in the international news, in a historic move, the group of 20 members on Saturday granted the African Union a permanent membership of the organization. And in sports news, young Gambian football star Yankuba Minte is close to the dream of wearing his national team jersey to play for the Scorpions when the Gambia face Congo on Sunday in the final AFCON qualifier. Those were your headlines, and now the news in detail. Hello, if you are just tuning in, this is QTV News with me, Julden Jai. The Social Protection Secretariat on Saturday engaged National Assembly members to promote their work and the building of the Gambia's social registry. Janaba Sonko attended, and this is her report.
The government of the Gambia launched its first ever national social protection policy in 2016 with an accompanying implementation plan. A social protection secretariat has been created under the office of the Vice President. A social registry is being built to promote social protection programs. Social protection systems through available data and tools are transformative as they help mitigate economic and fiscal shocks. The coronavirus pandemic has exposed the Gambia's health sector's vulnerabilities, and the Russia-Ukraine war has exposed food insecurities. The World Bank says social protection systems should be well designed, powerful as they enhance human capital and productivity, reduce inequalities, build resilience, and end the intergenerational cycle of poverty. For this to be achieved, lawmakers are key in pushing for laws that will strengthen the role of institutions' interventions. Here is the National Social Protection Secretariat's coordinator, Momodu Diba.
The social assistance sector is without a direct legislation as at now. So once we establish the Gambia Social Registry, a legal framework will be needed to make sure that its usage is regulated and is given guidance. In a couple of months, probably, we'll start engaging you on the social protection bill, which I think will be submitted to the National Assembly this month. So we are hoping to have more engagement with you and enlighten you on the social protection bill, which will establish formally the institution and also the first direct legislation on the social assistance sector.
Policymakers globally have committed to closing these gaps by extending coverage and strengthening social protection floors, which is part of the 2015 Addis Ababa Declaration and the African Union's Agenda 2063. There are a lot of international instruments that most African countries are signatories to that clearly call for gender-sensitive social protection systems, children and disability focus, but implementation is often a challenge. We engage Suleiman Saho, the National Assembly member for Central Badibu.
As National Assembly, what we need to do is for us to come up with a legal framework. The legal framework is going to make it operational so that, the support, even the budget support, they need budget support. So once the legal frame is completed, National Assembly has a role to play in the budgetary allocation to ensure that the social registry is well funded.
Social protection programs are among the most successful development experiences the world has seen in recent years. They have proven to be key in developing countries' efforts to fight poverty and hunger. In Kenya, political leadership has demonstrated commitment to supporting interventions or investments in social protection programming through multi-year budget commitments based on periodic social budgeting. It is hoped that the Gambia will emulate these steps. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jennifer Sonko.
Now, the National Environment Agencies and partners commence Phase 2 of the Climate Resilient Coastal and Maritime Zone Management Project today at the Bakau coastline. Mamadou Gajaga was at that site, and this is his report.
Several coconut seedlings were planted along the Bakau coastline as part of Phase 2 of this climate resilience project to mitigate coastal erosion. Kemo Fati, Executive Director for Green Up Gambia, spoke about the threat of rising sea level and their potential impact on coastal communities.
We all know how vulnerable the Gambia is to sea level rise. As a matter of fact, there has been studies indicating that if we have about a 1 meter sea level rise, half of Banjul will be inundated and the entire capital city will be left uninhabited. We're not just talking about Banjul. That simply means that we will lose valuable mangrove ecosystems. More than 30% of our mangroves will disappear. And that simply means breeding ground for fish stocks will go down. And most of the people depending here are depending on inland fishing and the ocean for their needs.
Dauda Baji, Executive Director of the National Environment Agency, NEA, says protecting the environment is everyone's responsibility and added that the coastline restoration will benefit a lot of communities.
Planting of coconut along the coastline is not something new, but the results over time is not something very encouraging, which means we have been planting a lot of trees, but we don't take care of them, and then we keep on planting. So that's why I'm with the view that we should not shy away from the statement of planting, but the statement of growing plants.
Wuraba, Deputy Director of Administration at the KMC, representing the Mayor, reiterated the Council's commitment to support the Ecosystem Restoration GCCA Plus project, which aims to plant 4,000 coconut trees along the Gambia's coastline. Michelle Mendy, Councillor for SL Ward, also describes the project as a wonderful initiative.
On behalf of the Council, through the Ward Councillor of Bakau, Old Bakau Ward, the Council will fully participate in the planting of these coconut trees, in the maintenance of these coconut trees, and other efforts that are geared to improve the ecosystem within our municipality where possible beyond.
This is my first time seeing this type of thing reaching my area. It's always stopped at this coastal area in the Combos, but it's a pleasure for extending it to my area.
The project launching of the planting of these trees along the Senegambia to Katong coastline was held at the Tangier Fish landing site last month. Coastal erosion and rising sea levels are a threat to humanity, especially those living close to the coast. It is expected that the planting of these coconut seedlings will mitigate coastal erosion. Mamadou Gajaga, QTV News.
That's a great initiative there. Now, 17 medical staff from the Farafenni General Hospital, the Nemban Clinic and the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital were trained in basic Ponseti treatment training held at the Farafenni General Hospital in the North Bank region. Don Williams attended, and this is his report.
Clubfoot is a common type of back defect that affects muscles and bones in the feet, and the first treatment is the Ponseti method. This involves a specific technique of manipulation of the clubfoot deformity, followed by the application of a plaster cast with the foot in the corrected position. The event was funded by Miracle Feet in the United States. Keba Mane is the Chief Executive Officer of Farafenni General Hospital in the North Bank region.
And it was initiated at Kanifing, rolled out to Banjul, Brikama now. Now we are expanding to Farafenni and hopefully expand to all other hospitals across the country. By that way, we will be able to sustain it, and then we'll be able to integrate it as well into our health service delivery.
Ibu Kamara, the National Coordinator for Clubfoot, the Gambia, explains how the Clubfoot Foundation and treatment started.
The foundation was established in 2017, as I said, just to address the need for treatment of clubfoot and train our Gambian healthcare workers with skill to treat clubfoot in the Gambia. We started this as a pilot project at Carnivine General Hospital and Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital in 2019 and trained six healthcare workers in 2 of these facilities. And around 2022, we roll back in our expansion, what we call decentralization program, and expanded to have it in Brikama District Hospital. If children are born with it, parents and communities, they assume it is an act of Satan that these children are born with. But it is not a Satan, it's a disability that genetically children are born with.
Dr. Keba Marina, a specialist and trainer, also had this to say.
Trying to make sure that this treatment is readily available as widely as possible in the Gambia and to as many people as possible. And that's the aim of doing this training.
The Mariam Jove, an orthopedic surgeon at the Nemban Clinic, said this about the training.
This training will help to, make more people to know about this, and in that case, they should be brought when they are very, very young. It means just after the naming ceremony, they can be brought to us so that the evaluation can be done. Because you have better results the earlier you start the treatment. So if they are very old, they can also be part of it, but it will be better if they are brought to the hospital at a very, very young age. Before, people used to believe that because their parents have done something, especially the mom has done something which lead to this abnormal deformity, and usually they hide it in the community.
The aim of this training is to strengthen the capacity of treatment and practice of the Ponseti method by Clubfoot Treatment providers in the Gambia. Don Williams, QTV News, Farafeni.
That report there will take us to a short commercial break. When we return, we have some more local, international, as well as some sports news stories for you. To stay tuned.
The future is now with QCell's 5G network. Experience speeds like never before with our new 5G Rocket Fixed Internet plan. Get speeds from 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps. Your 5G-enabled device. Walk into QCell headquarters to get one of our 5G routers and experience the true feeling of 5G. Only with QCell. QCell brings you the future. Tech, innovation, incredible speed. The future is now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyapus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
The art of juggling is a true spectacle of agility, coordination, and speed. A symbol of progression, precision, and mastery. "5G speed is like having the juggler in your pocket. With lightning-fast download and upload speeds, you'll easily be able to juggle even the busiest workdays. Whether you're a busy entrepreneur, a creative, or just someone who wants to stay connected. Juggle your tasks with ease with QCell 5G speed. The future is here. It's fast, reliable, and efficient. First brought to you by QCell. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back. If you are just tuning in, this is QTV News coming to you live from our studios on Caraba Avenue, and I am Julda Jai. Now, a few weeks after the conviction of 3 women for breaking anti-FGM laws, in a joint effort, the National or the Network Against Gender-Based Violence in the Gambia and various civil society organizations held a press conference to denounce the practice. Despite the convictions, they called on the government to continue to fulfill its commitment to safeguarding the rights of women and girls. Lena Igwe tells us more.
The 2015 amendment to the Women's Act of 2010 criminalizes FGM in the Gambia and outlines various penalties. However, the convictions delivered by the Kawur or Kuntaur Magistrates Court, convicting 3 women found guilty of performing FGM on girls aged between 4 months and 1 year, stirred intense debate. Yadi Konjai Eribo, chair of Tango, the umbrella organization for NGOs operating in the Gambia, commended the government for its legal progress, emphasizing that more work remains to be done.
Today, we stand in solidarity with all women and girls in the Gambia to say no to violations of women and girls in the name of culture, and the misinterpretation of religion. We are standing up and speaking out today to celebrate in one sense and also to grieve and call for justice and accountability. On that note, we hugely commend the state for demonstrating that in this recent case in Nyani, Bakadaje. We would, however, remind the state that much more needs to be done to raise awareness about harmful traditional practices, including FGM, and to continue to enforce the law consistently and constantly in full.
While presenting the coalition statement from civil society and non-governmental organizations, Fatou Balde, founder of Women in Liberation and Leadership, expressed concern about the mildness of the sentences imposed on those convicted in comparison to what the law prescribes.
While we hail the significance of this prosecution, we express serious concern over the leniency of the fine of $15,000 handed to the offenders. The law, both Section 32A and 32B of the Women's Act, prescribe a punishment of 3 years of imprisonment or a fine of $50,000 or both for engaging in the practice of FGM or being an accomplice to it, respectively. Therefore, the $15,000 fine by the court raises critical concerns about the adequacy of the response to the seriousness of the crime.
Falu Sow is the executive director of Network Against Gender-Based Violence.
It is important that our women and girls who faced these harmful practices are protected, because every life is very important. Every human being is very important, and we should all be treated equally. So we need to ensure that this law, together as Gambian, is promoted, this law is fully enforced, and our women and girls free from FGM in this country.
The press conference witnessed the presence of prominent anti-FGM advocates who collectively urged the government and the Ministry of Justice to impartially enforce the law and ensure that those involved in FGM face the appropriate consequences. Their ultimate goal is to ensure that every girl and woman in the Gambia enjoys their fundamental human rights and has their dignity respected and protected. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena E. Gwenyiba.
Let's now shift our attention to news beyond our borders. In a historic move and an effort to make itself more representative, the group of 20 members have on Saturday granted the African Union a permanent membership. The announcement was made during the opening of a two-day G20 summit in India. QTV's Mamadou Lamin Choi has been monitoring the summit, and this is the latest.
The African Union is part of an economic bond with the world's richest and most powerful economies, the G20. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi made the announcement at the start of the two-day meeting of G20 leaders in India's capital, New Delhi. Azali Assoumani, the chair of the African Union, who is also the president of Comoros, is being escorted to take his seat by India's foreign minister. The G20's decision to grant the AU permanent membership marked the first expansion of the bloc since it was formed in 1999, comprising the world's largest economies and the European Union. Supported by China, the US and other G20 member countries, India had proposed the granting of permanent G20 membership to the AU. Before this development, Africa had a designation of Invited International Organization of the G20. The continental organization now has equal status with the EU. Harsh V. Pant is an Indian expert in international relations.
The 21st century contemporary requirements also make it imperative that a continent like Africa that is beginning to emerge as an opportunity for the rest of the world. That it is not simply a continent where problems are, it is also a continent where perhaps a lot of the solutions to global problems exist. I think that with that mindset, India has approached Africa on a range of issues.
The G20 accounts for 85% of global GDP. Members of the group leveraged their capacity to cooperate and work to address major challenges relating to the global economy, climate change mitigation, and sustainable development goals. The AU is a 55-member states which has the world's largest free trade area and some of the most valuable natural resources. All eyes are now set on what the AU can contribute to the G20. John Curtin is the director of G7 and G20 research groups.
So we've long had great hopes for Africa, and this is a very hopeful sign. We'll just have to wait and see what the African Union will actually contribute to the G20 and the global issues where the G20 leads. At a minimum, we know whoever might be the head of the African Union will probably at G20 summits make a speech saying the G20 should do more for Africa, but then we'll have to wait and see what the African Union will do for the G20 and through the G20 for the world.
After 7 years of advocacy for full membership of the G20, the African Union has succeeded in getting a seat in the bloc. From Africa, only South Africa was a member of the bloc. Analysts say the AU's full membership of the G20 signals the recognition of the continent as a global power, which has 60% of the world's renewable energy assets and more than 30% of minerals key to renewable and low-carbon technologies. Mahmoud Lamin Chai, QTV News.
Now let's take a look at some sports news stories. Young Gambian football star Yankuba Minteh is close to the dream of wearing his national team jersey to play for the Scorpions when the Gambia faces Congo on Sunday in the final AFCON qualifier. He was speaking to GFF Media at their camp in Morocco. Our sports reporter Momodo Gajaga has been monitoring, and this is his report.
Yankuba Minteh, Newcastle United's loanee at Feyenoord, is expected to be part of the Gambia side that will face Congo in the final AFCON qualifier on Sunday. Minteh, who scored for Feyenoord last weekend, told GFF Media what it means to him.
It has always been my dream to play for my country since I was young. Everyone wants your country to be among the top footballing nations in the world by qualifying for AFCON and the World Cup. Even though we've never qualified for the World Cup, we did qualify for the AFCON. So I will be very happy to be part of the team to get us to our second successive AFCON.
Despite being on national team duty, Yankuba Minteh responded to questions about his club ambitions, particularly as a Newcastle United player, now on loan at Feyenoord.
It is every player's dream to play in one of the top 5 leagues in the world. No player wants to be at the same level all the time. Naturally, I will want to achieve my dream of playing in a top 5 league, but it has to be one step at a time. Right now, I am focused on national duties, and we are hopeful we will qualify to our second AFCON tournament.
Although Yankuba Minteh made his debut for the Scorpions in a friendly against Guinea-Bissau a year ago, being able to play in a match where he could be one of the players who can repeat a historic achievement will be one of his greatest dreams. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
Now, a 10-kilometer run was organized in Basse in URR by the Manekunda community in collaboration with the Bintabari Foundation. Our reporter Alaji FM Jallo attended, and he filed in this report.
The 10-kilometer run began at Basse Aluhari Bridge through the main street of Basse, taking the bypass into Manekunda Bantaba, where the athletes were welcomed with great fanfare. 8 participants started the 10-kilometer run, escorted by officers from the 3 Infantry Battalion in URR. The run was held in humid temperatures, and out of the 8 participants, 5 completed the 10-kilometer run. The winner, Mamadou Saliou Bass, said his intention is to take up running as a career if he gets the necessary support. I want to be a long-distance runner. My dream is to participate in the Olympics. This is why I'm always training. I need technical and material support to improve in my skills as an athlete. Bilali Sise, the runner-up, has the same ambition as Mr. Ba. We have a team of young people who are interested in athletics. We train daily to prepare for events. Our goal is to participate in national and international athletics competition. Seni Kanute, the organizer of this event, said, the event will encourage young people to take up athletics as a career to help curb youth unemployment.
I have seen that athletics is something that people are making millions nowadays. So I want to implore on the youth to be able to choose marathon or to choose athletics as a career. This will definitely change life, change people's living condition. So this is why I decided to choose marathon this time around. So I'm very happy that it went successfully, and hopefully, there is hope that more of this will be organized.
Most of the athletes who participated in this event are ambitious and willing to take up athletics as a career. However, a lack of support for them at this early stage is among factors preventing them from attending their goals. Reporting for QTV News in Basse, I am Alaji F. Jallo.
Well, I'm afraid that's all we got time for, but before we go, let's recap the main news headlines. The Social Protection Secretariat on Saturday engaged National Assembly members to promote their work and the building of the Gambia Social Registry. And the National Environment Agency and partners commenced Phase 2 of the Climate Resilient Coastal and Maritime Zone Management Project today along the Bakau coastline. And 17 medical staff from 3 hospitals trained in Ponseti treatment held at the Farafenni General Hospital in the North Bank region. And in the international news, in a historic move, the group of 20 members have on Saturday granted to the African Union a permanent membership. And in sports news, young Gambian football star Yankuba Minte is close to the dream of wearing his national team jersey to play for the Scorpions when the Gambia face Congo on Sunday in the final AFCON qualifiers. That's all we have for you in this edition of the news. Join us tomorrow for another news bulletins. Many thanks indeed for the pleasure of your company, and do have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.